Hello everybody, one more time. My name is Alex Centeno with Mercados Interactive Partners located in the Research Triangle area. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at retouching photos. And what happens is sometimes your photographer is going to give you photos that are fantastic to work with. And so you just basically do a little bit of retouching. You put a vignette, you use them in your digital media and advertising products, and you're good to go. As a designer, that's an ideal day. But sometimes the photography that is provided for you, or the one that you have to work with, is not in ideal conditions, and so you have to clean it up. One of those things that happens is that the model had wrinkles or imperfections on the face or on the makeup, or it didn't have any makeup, or things like that. So of course advertising is not realistic by any means. So the retouching process is what we're going to be taking a look at today. So in a model's face, how to retouch it, how to fix problems that we find in the photo, and make it attractive so that we can use it in advertising design. But before we do that, let's take a look at our sponsor for today.
Mercados is a strategic web studio located in the Research Triangle area in North Carolina. Our focus is to help businesses of all sizes make more money through the use of strategic website design, custom digital media development, and web marketing. For more information, you can contact us at 888-525-8117 or visit us on the web at mercados.com. Mercados, creatively smart.
All right, so I have here the image that we're going to be working with today, and this image is provided by Stock Exchange, so we want to thank them for that. Stock Exchange is pretty much the source of all the images that we use in our tutorials, so thank you for that. So this image, and what we're going to do is, of course, correct it. The first step here that I'm going to do is grab here my spot healing brush tool, and as you can see, I have different ones. I have the healing brush tool, patch tool. These are correcting brushes here, or correcting tools. In this particular case, I'm going to be using the spot healing brush tool, and I'm going to use it, as you can see here, with a size of 10 and hardness of 100% with spacing of 25%. Everything else you can just leave as the default. The mode is going to be normal, and I'm going to be using content aware because I'm using Photoshop CS6 that comes with the content aware one. Great. So I'm going to start applying it. All I have to do is just click on the different imperfections that I see on the skin. In this case, it's not even imperfections, it's just mud. But all I'm doing is just clicking on top of those imperfections, trying to have a brush as big as the imperfection, not too much bigger than that. Also, you can click and drag for a little bit bigger section, but it's definitely a better technique to just go little by little doing this, as I'm doing here, as opposed to trying to do a big section at a time. So as you can see, all I'm doing is just clicking on top of the imperfections. But this can of course take a while. So I wanted to demonstrate that with the bigger imperfections, we increase the size of our brush. I'm doing that with my bracket, open and closing bracket. That increases the size of my brush so that I don't have to go and increase it manually there at the settings pane. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to focus on the bigger imperfections first. And you're going to do this across the entire face with all the imperfections. So at this time, what I'm going to do is that I am going to continue doing this. I'm going to pause recording, and I'm going to continue to do this. Basically, it's just clicking on top of the imperfections, and then we'll get back when I'm done with that, so that you don't have to see me do it. Okay, great. So we're back, and as you can see, I have basically gotten rid of pretty much all the mud. So we're starting with a clean skin at the very least. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my main image. So I have a copy, and I'm going to call this one blur. Go to the filter, blur, and select a surface blur. You can use this different settings depending on what works best for your image, but what I've seen is that a blur with a radius of about 15 pixels and a threshold of 20 levels is kind of a good balance there. So that's what I'm going to be using: radius of 15 pixels and threshold of 20 levels. Okay, and that doesn't look that great like that, but I'm going to create here a mask by clicking here. So now I have a mask that I'm going to reverse by clicking Command I. So now it's gone. So nothing is being applied of the blur. And now with a brush, 70%, zero hardness, and opacity at 15% or so, I'm going to start just painting with a white color here, white, so that I'm painting inside of the mask here. Okay, and what that's doing is that it is applying that blur, the surface blur, only in the areas that I'm selecting. And of course, of course, I don't want to use that, for example, in the eyes, because I don't want the eyes to be blurry, or the eyebrow, or any of that. All I want is to apply the blurring effect to the skin, because basically what I'm doing is just smoothing the skin. And if you feel that that is taking a long time, then you can increase a little bit the opacity of the effect, so you don't have to do as many passes. So you can increase the opacity, and as you can see, of course, like, it makes the process a lot faster, but also is less accurate. So you have to kind of measure what ideally you want to do. All right. All right, so now as you can see, the mask actually replicates the areas that I want to affect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the opacity to about 90% of this layer so that it looks a little bit more natural. Great. So now what I'm going to do is more of an airbrush effect. So I'm going to create with this layer a solid color layer. Hit OK. And just hide it for now so that we can see the color that we want. And we're going to grab a color from her skin, like a nice color from her skin, like so. So as you can see, what I'm using here is 220, 151, 124, but of course, depending on the photo that you have, you're going to be using a different kind of color. All right, and I'm going to just go ahead and change this to color and reverse my my mask here. We're gonna call this one Airbrush. Okay, and we're gonna use the same technique. So I'm gonna click on top of my mask, and with white I'm gonna be painting on the sections of the skin that I actually want to affect. So as you can see, I'm getting rid of a little bit of the difference in color of the skin. So now it's more consistent. And so I'm going to be painting only, of course, on the sections that need to be consistent in terms of color. Basically what the model would use in her skin as makeup. Okay. Once again, I'm going to reduce the opacity so that it's a little bit more natural, 90% or so. Great. Now let's go ahead and add a little bit of makeup. So the first part is to add a 50% gray layer. So I'm gonna do this by doing a 50% gray like so. So you can see here, brightness is at 50%, so 0, 0, 50% solid color. I'm gonna rasterize this one. Okay, so it's rasterized. I'm gonna call it burn and dodge. I'm gonna change the mode to soft light. So as you can see, nothing happens if I enable or disable right now. But of course, if I come here to my dodging and burning, then something is gonna happen. So I'm gonna select burn to mid-tones 50%. All right, and I'm gonna click to burn that layer right here. So I'm burning directly on the layer, not on the layer mask. Okay. I'm gonna put a little bit of eyeshadow. Great. All right, that's looking good. I can reduce it again. And I can also test with overlay if I need a little bit more of an effect. So if I feel like I would like a little bit stronger effect, then I can change it to overlay. If I want a little bit of softer effect, then I can use soft light, depending on the look that I'm going for. So let me just use a little bit of stronger effect by using the overlay, like so. It's looking good. All right, and I'm going to use now my dodging tool for things that should be lighter, like the eye itself. Okay, and the earring here. All right, let me just burn this a little bit as well. And let me burn a little bit of the lips. what I'm doing right now is I'm turning on and off to see how natural I want the effect to be. On and off. Okay. All right, that looks great. And then final touches, but I mean, pretty much this is the retouching part of it. Of course, there are other things that you could do to make the photo in itself a little bit more attractive. And those are the finishing touches that I'm going to use right now. For example, adding a vignette, adding a little bit of a blur to the whole composite, things like that. So the first thing is to create an empty layer. Hold Option key while I click here, and then merge visible. So as you can see, it created a layer with all this merged visibly together here in this layer. I'm going to call it comp. And what I can do with this one is overlay and just create a Gaussian blur on it. Like so. Finally, let's go ahead and add a vignette. So gradient, I have here in my gradient editor, I actually have a vignette, which is basically just a gradient from black to transparent black. Hit OK, change it to radial, and reverse it. As you can see, let's go ahead and scale it up because we don't really want so much of that effect. Like so, and then reduce it a little bit so it's not so present. This is still too much. All right, great. So now what we're gonna do is, let me go ahead and paste the original image here so that we can see the before and after, right? All right, so if I was to just paint with the paint bucket here, or just reverse it, there you go. You can see the before and after. So before we had all this mud in the face, we got rid of that part. Then we softened the skin. Then we added a little bit of makeup, and we closed the photo with a little bit of a vignette and an overlay. You can see the difference before, after, before, after. And to finish, let me just go ahead and put this side by side so that I can close that, close the video with that. So I'm gonna change the canvas size. I'm gonna change the width to double this. All right, and that way I can just grab this, move it to this side. Let me go ahead and move this so you can see the effect. There you go. So there you go. Usually you tend to put things that are before on the left side and after on the right side. So we're not going to do that this time. We're going to just leave it like it is. So before and after, before and after. Hopefully this has been helpful, and you can use this technique, of course, to use in your digital media projects, and most of the time you're not going to get an image from the photographer that is this bad. So that's good news, because now that you can be confident that you can actually rescue an image that is this bad, then of course getting easier images is going to feel a lot easier too. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Alex Centeno with Mercal's Interactive Partners, and please go ahead and use the comments box and just follow us on the YouTube channel if you feel like this is helpful. Thank you so much. Have a great day.